All right, I think we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining this morning. We're talking with our friends at Robotical here and integrating Marty with other AI tools for STEM education. My name is Amy. I've been with RobotLAB for about 4 years now, specializing in K-12 schools in the US and around the world. We primarily dealt in the beginning with virtual reality, so we launched a virtual reality platform called Expeditions 2.0. Since then, we've been launching multiple labs in the US and around the world. So just wanted to get into that as well. Just about RobotLAB, we started in about 2011. Headquarters are in Texas, and we have several locations around the US and in Colombia. We are the leaders in integration for STEM robotics solutions, so not only in the K-12 sector, but also in business robots for hospitality, banking, entertainment, you name it, there is a robot somewhere for it. We also pride ourselves in being, a one-stop solution for you. So we do the repairs, the integration, the support, implementation, curriculum, consumables and repairs, and account management afterwards. What do we do for education? We are most known, like I mentioned, for creating the virtual reality platform. We also have several different labs that we can provide for your schools. Immersive reality, projected reality, AI labs, fabrication labs, esports, VR, also the byproduct solutions. So within robotics, there is a solution for every grade need. Also, those lessons that come with it align with the NGSS Common Core standards and special education solutions. So robots to help as a social companion for students, helping with social emotional learning, visual learning, social skills. There is a robot out there for just about everything these days, so we're very excited for that. Our main focus for this year in the past several years has been AI labs. So we're going to be implementing 2 or 3 more this year. What is it, an AI lab? It's a turnkey solution. You give us an empty space, we fill it with furniture, computers, robots, curriculum. We do the on-site implementation, the training, and aftercare for your school. So just let us know if we can help you out. The benefits for teachers and students for robotics and technology. We really like the collaborative approach and teamwork for students. We want to get them prepared for their careers in the future. So a lot of programming and coding skills are necessary to do those things. Our special guest today is Hal Speed. He is the head of North America for Robotical. Sorry, his bio is up here now, but we're so excited to have you, Hal, and I'm going to let you take it away from here. Thank you.
All right, glad to see everyone today. Thanks for joining to learn a little bit more about Robotical and Marty, and then we'll do a deeper dive into AI and specifically machine learning and look at creating classification models for images, R for sounds, and then interacting with Marty for the program. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. The best way with any of these educational learning tools, especially for K-12, is to get hands-on, right? We're all about physical computing. We're about the interaction between hardware and software. And so in order to do that, RobotLAB will send out evaluation units to educators in the United States, and then allow you to test a robot, Marty the Robot, for a couple of weeks. We'll provide training on the different software. You have access to the lesson materials, pretty much everything you need, just like you owned it for a couple of weeks. And you can evaluate Marty in a real world setting in your classroom. So if you have any interest in all around Marty or K-12 robotics in the US, feel free to go to this link at RobotLAB and request an evaluation unit. So a little bit of background about Robotical. If you're not familiar, we've been around for 8 years, started in the UK, based in Scotland, and initially focused on building a kit around a robot that was Marty V1, did some crowdfunding, turn that into more of an educational offering, and we have what we know and love today as Marty V2. Marty does come pre-assembled, so there's no longer any assembly required with Marty. It's a pre-built robot that's ready to go right out of the box in the classroom. All you need to do is put the battery in and you're off and running, ready to go. And then coming out of the pandemic, we expanded into the US and have been very active here ever since. Our mission really is about making learning fun and engaging. And that's part of the personality of our company, but also you'll see that part of the personality of Marty. And we believe that computer science and STEM should be available to all students and that anyone can do this. And so by making a tool that's easy to use and accessible and engaging, both students as well as educators who may be a little concerned about the subject are drawn to that and the ease of use. Here's the video. I'll try to play that. Let me know if you can hear it, but I'm guessing you're not going to be able to. No.
No, so we'll share the slides with you all so you can see the videos afterward. I'm so sorry about that, Hal.
Sorry about that. Yeah, like I said, it worked during the dry run. Must have something to do with the Zoom settings. But I can summarize the video instead of just taking my word for it. I work for Robotical, so I might be a little biased. These are educators that have Marty in the classroom, and they'll give you their perspective on Marty and how they use Marty and what they teach with Marty at various different grade levels, anywhere from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. So sorry about that. So what is Marty? Marty is a humanoid robot that walks and dances, can talk, is also multilingual, so it can talk in multiple languages. But all of this, the student has to program Marty to talk and to move. Marty also has input sensors, which a lot of educational robots are missing, especially for some of the younger grades. And sensors are such a valuable input to be able to learn programming. And we've made that super simple. And I'll show you a sensor dashboard that we have as part of that. But there's a color sensor, there are infrared sensors, there's an accelerometer, and then there's the option to add additional sensors to Marty to detect light and sounds. Marty is extremely versatile. Because of all the different grades that we span, we're able to do that on the different coding environments that we're able to program Marty with. Starting off with younger students, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, just using color cards, not even a device. And these cards give commands to Marty on what to do. So green tells Marty to go forward, yellow is backwards, blue, purple, left or right. And then the red card will be to stop and celebrate. From there, we move into the software, works on any device. We have mobile apps for Apple and Android, and then a web version for Chromebooks, Windows, and Mac. Works in a Chrome browser and the Edge browser. And then the robot connects over Bluetooth with the device. The first environment for the software is a remote control, and then something that we call a sequencer, which is a really simple way to introduce the concept of building steps one at a time. We find for younger students who may not quite have the dexterity to do drag and drop coding yet, this is an easy way to introduce the concept of what do you want to do first, second, third, etc. Then we move into drag and drop programming. We have junior blocks, very similar to Scratch Junior, that have pictures and icons for pre-readers. These blocks connect together left to right. And then moving from there on into a more traditional blocks like Scratch. Those blocks connect top to bottom and have words with text for kind of upper elementary school and on. And then when students are ready to transition to text-based programming, Marty can also be programmed with Python. And we have some tools in the blocks and Marty blocks to be able to start to introduce Python so that the students can copy that out of their blocks code and then paste it into their Python editor. Our implementation for Python is we don't have our own editor. We rely on you to use the editor that you're already using. And then we have a library that you install called Marty Py that brings in all the specific commands for operating Marty. Here's a quick suggestion on the learning sequence across the different grades. Just kind of summarizes the different environments that I mentioned by the grades. I'm going to go through some of these pretty quick because you'll have those slides later for reference. And I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to get kind of into the details of the demo and the machine learning. Likewise, on the learning materials, we have over 100 lessons available for free on our website. They're freely available to educators and no teacher account required, no reoccurring license required. And so you can go look at those lessons. They are aligned for computer science. They'll be aligned with the Computer Science Teachers Association, CSTA. And so this is very similar to most of the US state standards. And then for the cross-curricular lessons for math and science, you'll look at maybe the Common Core for math and NGSS for the science-based lessons. Here's what our learning portal looks like. So when you go to learn.robotical.io, you can go then to the left-hand navigation and filter through the various lessons. An example and these are educator lessons, I would say, so focus on the educator providing direct instruction to the students. So these are intended for the educator to come in, assemble and put together a lesson plan with objectives, warm-up materials, presentations, sample code, maybe videos, cool down activity, maybe a worksheet for the students, et cetera. So all of that's available for download on the website. And then recently, we've also now started to introduce student-facing material or student-led material. Think of these like coding cards. The digital version of these are available on our website for free. And then we have some printed materials in a spiral-bound booklet. If you want a pre-printed version, those are around $20 for the Marty blocks. And so these come in different flavors, junior blocks, regular blocks, and then some specialty lessons for math and English language arts. I mentioned the sensor dashboard. This is also relatively new for us. Sensors are a really important part of computer science, and a lot of the other learning tools really focus only on outputs or motion and lights, where Marty also has that form of output through walking, dancing, lights, speech, sounds, etc. But with the inputs, this tool on the sensor dashboard allows the students to see in real time the sensor data coming from Marty. So it's a great tool to help debug your program if you're using sensors as inputs. You can see what the actual value of the sensors are to see if your trigger points or the values are set where you thought it would be set, like for a conditional or for an event handler or something of that nature. For older students, you can also export this data as a spreadsheet and do more analysis on the raw data and more visualization and graphs and ways to turn that into more visual representation. But a really powerful tool, especially for kind of the middle school and high school grades, to be able to introduce sensors and to see in real time all that data coming from the input sensors. Uh, Here's just a slide on the machine learning. We're going to do a live demo on this here in just a moment. But we have a ability to do classification models for audio sounds and for images. So think of these as prediction models, just like when you're using something like Alexa or Siri. But in those cases, a company, Amazon or Apple, have already created the model to be able to recognize that word or that sound or that phrase. And then they've decided how they're going to use that in their program and what the program's going to do once they hear those particular sounds or those particular words. So we've enabled the students to go through that whole pipeline from collecting data, training their model, deploying their model, and then incorporating that machine learning model into their program and then writing the program around it to have Marty respond to different prompts, whether those are visual prompts or audio prompts. This is very similar concept to what we're used to now with some of these what's called large language models. So things like GPT, which are humongous language models that are taking text data and doing prediction algorithms to predict what the next letter or the next word needs to be in order to string together what appears to us as coherent sentences and paragraphs based on a wealth of training data coming from all of the textual information on the web and very close to in the world. So this is a very similar concept of predicting, except instead of we're not predicting words and letters, we're predicting sounds and images and then writing a program for what we want to do once we get a positive prediction for a given sound or image, and then having Marty respond to that. If you're an educator that is already using Teachable Machine, that's a website from Google that has made its way into some classrooms. The nice thing about our software is you can continue to use Teachable Machine to create your model, and then you can export it, and I'll show you how to do that in the demo, and then import that into our software to use for Marty. Don't worry, if you're not using Teachable Machine, you'll be able to do all the data collection, model generation, and programming all within our software and environment, and we'll cover that in the demo. If you have access to a 3D printer, we've got some pre-made STEP and STL files that you can just send over to your printer. My personal favorite is Marty's got a little Stanley cup, but you can have the students design their own pieces. We've got Halloween coming up, and so there's a jack-o'-lantern faceplate that you could print out too. But another way to make learning fun and engaging and to really bring that physical aspect of the interaction with computing. This is just a summary of what are in some of the different lessons. We also have a white paper that goes over some of the benefits of humanoid robots. This is some academic research looking at the various form of humanoid robots. And one of the eye-opening things to us was that how a humanoid robot can aid in the teaching of children on the autism spectrum. So there's some academic research out there about academic or autism students being able to more easily relate to a humanoid style robot. And we've built that specifically into our programming to be able to give Marty emotions and to have like angry face or excited face or things of that nature. And so it's a really helpful tool for students with special needs as well. And with the color cards, that's another easy way to introduce robotics and programming for some special needs students. So the way Marty is packaged, we sell RobotLAB through classroom sets of 5, 10, or 15, etc. So each of those 5 packs comes with 5 robots. And then you'll see each robot includes the color sensor, the IR sensors. You'll get some sticker sheets, which is really nice to decorate and personalize your robot. And then each robot comes in its own carrying case for easy storage, or if you're using a cart, taking the robots from class to class. One of the huge benefits about Marty is that the battery is removable and rechargeable. So many of the other educational robots, battery management can be a pretty big hassle, and you have to take the robot out of instruction time to recharge it, or worst case, if the battery end of life, then there's no way to even replace the battery and you have to throw away the entire robot. And so the beauty of Marty is our battery is external, and with every classroom set, you get an external charging cradle and an extra battery for every Marty. So the concept there is you'll always have a charged battery ready to go. So even if Marty needs a new battery during the middle of class, you just pop out the old one, put in the new one, and you pick up right where you left off no more stressing about the batteries, no more kids crying that we don't get to do robots today. And so that 5-pack starts at 2,225, and you can contact RobotLAB for additional quotes for other volumes. For schools that may want to look at grant funding, we also have some language and some materials on our website. If you need help there, you can go to /educator/funding and grants to get some of that language and provide some inputs, and I'm sure RobotLAB would be happy to assist on that as well. Maybe let's pause here. Amy or Abby, any questions about Marty right now before we kind of jump into some of the new products? Nope. Okay, I'm gonna keep going then.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of new products that are in development. They're not out yet, but given the expertise of this audience, I wanted to go ahead and plant the seed of some of the things that we're working on. One of them is for really young students. This is based on some research that Craig Hanning at MIT did as part of his research project for his doctorate degree that looks at bringing a very, very simple input-output device, a physical computing device for young learners. So for us, it's called COG, and it's really simple. It lights up, it makes noises, it detects motion, and it has a button. That's about all it does, but it does provide that first kind of physical interaction with the screen for really young students, and will work both with junior blocks. The example there you see on the bottom screen for the pre-readers. And I think this is a game changer because there's so little physical computing tools out there for that, I'll call it pre-K to second grade range. There's a few robots where you just press the buttons on the top of the robot to make it go, but you don't really get the software interactive nature of a robot or a physical computing device. And some of these software only tools are great, like Scratch Junior or code.org, but it's critically important that we start introducing the concept of hardware and the physical interaction between hardware and software. And that's really what COG is going to enable, and will be able to be programmed both with the junior blocks and the traditional blocks. It will work by itself, so you don't have to have a Marty in order to program with COG. But if you do have a Marty, you'll have some additional features and capabilities to control Marty and COG together and have both devices interact. It'll be powered over a USB cable, or you'll also be able to add AA batteries to it, and then it will connect to the device over Bluetooth, and it will work on the same set of devices. So Android tablets, iPads, and then through a browser for Chromebooks, Windows, and Mac. And this is also a big deal because if you've ever used Scratch Junior before, you know that there is not a web version of Scratch Junior, and this will enable a more traditional Scratch Junior style interface that works in a browser. And so you'll be able to use that with or without the COG, but we hope that you use the COG. So COG will be coming out early next year, so before spring. And we are taking pre-orders now, but once it's out, it will also be available on the RobotLAB website for purchase. So that's for really young students. Now let's go to the other direction. For older students, there is a lot of work going on right now on the CTE career clusters. If you guys have been following this, in the United States, we have the CTE career clusters. They really define the 16 different careers that are taught in most high schools across the country, whether that's computing, robotics, or auto shop, or cosmetology, or food services. All of these kind of fall under the umbrella of CTE in most states. And the career clusters have not been updated for years. I think maybe close to a decade. And so technology has changed quite a bit since the last update. And I'm happy to report that there will be a new version of the career clusters published next month. Advanced CTE, which is the organization, the nonprofit organization that is the steward of the career clusters, have been working on a multi-year project to update them. And the latest draft of the career clusters included some progressive concepts like data science, artificial intelligence, and self-driving cars. And we're hoping that those will continue to be in the final version released next month. So as part of that, we're developing a high school focused product that we're calling Axiom that will be dedicated to AI and machine learning. The main difference here between how we do machine learning on Marty and how we'll do it on Axiom is on Marty, we're dependent on having a connected computer or tablet in order to be able to use the camera and the microphone in that device. But in Axiom, we'll be able to deploy the model to the device itself and then use the camera and the microphone in the device to do all the inference and the predictions self-contained and no longer need to have Axiom connected to a device in order to be able to do machine learning. So obviously what that enables then is to have an autonomous vehicle. So we'll have an autonomous vehicle kit that Axiom will then mount to be able to turn it into a self-driving car. And for those schools out there that are interested in robotics competitions, the World Robot Olympiad has a challenge called the Future Engineers Challenge that is designed for self-driving cars, and our car chassis will meet the specs for that WRO challenge. So if that's something that you're interested in, are just interested in challenges in general, I'd suggest taking a closer look at what the WRO is doing. And then once we have our product ready, you'll be able to get an easy entry point there. We'll also have the option, if you look at that photo on the bottom right corner, there's an open space in the front that will be to accommodate a Raspberry Pi. So we want to have a low floor and a high ceiling, come in, do a simple car just using Axiom by itself. But then if you want to have a more advanced self-driving car, be able to add a Raspberry Pi and have that additional capabilities. All right, any questions? And then that will be later in the year, next year. So COG will be coming out first, and then Axiom will be after COG.
We do have a few questions.
Okay. Go ahead, Abby.
David is asking, what are the privacy or data protections for Marty?
Yeah, so for Marty, a great question. The software with Marty, and maybe that's a good transition to sharing the software. So you can still see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what our software looks like. This is Marty blocks. So the junior versions and the sequencer and other things are available here as well. Are you sure you can see? I can't see my screen on the webinar.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
We can definitely see your screen, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's just a me thing then. So the great news about our software is we do not have student logins. So we are not collecting any student data, any passwords, any emails, any student identifiable information, which also means that we do not have a recurring license as well. So the software is included with the purchase of the robots, and we avoid all of the privacy issues by not having those student logins or the student accounts. Was there another question, Abby?
Yes. Michelle is asking, what is included in the classroom pack?
Yeah, so I had a slide on that, the classroom set of 5, and we have multiples of 5, 10, 15, etc. But every 5-pack comes with 5 robots, 10 batteries, an external charging cradle for the 5 batteries. The batteries will run for over 3 hours of continuous use and will recharge in about 2 hours in the cradle. You can also charge Marty over a USB cable. So you have both options, but when you use the USB cable, you do have to take Marty kind of out of service in order to recharge it. Marty has color tiles. So each robot will come with a set of paper color cards. And then in the classroom set, there will be some more premium style. Think of them kind of like a mouse pad. They're cloth on one side and neoprene rubber on the other side. So they're much more durable, and I like them because they don't slide around as much as the paper ones. So for elementary schools, these are great, robust, and kid proof or kid resistant, I guess I should say.
We have another question that's not as tech-based. Why is it named Marty?
Another good question. So as we mentioned, we're really about the student engagement, and so we asked the students what they think Marty should be called, or what the robot should be called, and that was the winner that came out was Marty. One of the other contenders was Archie, because it looks a little bit like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris because of the way the legs are and the head. But we thought Marty was, or the kids thought Marty was a better name than Archie. But
That's really
that's
cute.
also another, I should mention that you do have the capability once you purchase Marty to go into the software and you can customize the name of each of your robots. So that's one way that we make the Bluetooth pairing process easier. But it's another way to make the student learning more engaging because then they can personalize it. Like I've called my robot Martina. And so when I go to pair with the robot, Martina's name comes up. And then when I see that I'm connected to Martina. And so it's a little bit, and I've given her eyeshadow and some nice lips. And then there's also a sticker that says, "Hello, my name is." So again, just trying to make it fun and engaging and personal for the students. All right.
Our last question is about the free trial. Melissa is asking where they can register for the free trial. So I think I can go ahead and answer this because I just posted in the chat. But if you go in the chat, you'll see a link to our website where you can register for this. And the same link will be sent to you after this webinar is completed.
And I can give just a 60-second summary of how that works. So the first step is you'll request a quick call, and we'll make sure that we have the proper address and you have the proper devices and things like that. You'll get a robot sent to you via FedEx, and then we'll schedule about an hour-long training to make sure you feel comfortable with the robot and the lesson materials and the software. And then that will be the official start of your 2-week evaluation. Then you'll be able to use it for that 2 weeks, and then there'll be another quick 10-minute call or so after the 2 weeks to remind you to return the robot. There will be a, prepaid self-addressed return label in the box. So all you need to do at the end of the trial is stick the label on the box and drop it off at FedEx office or other places that accept FedEx packages. And so it's really no hassle, low pressure, no no credit cards required ahead of time or anything like that. It's really just get the robot in the classroom and evaluate it to see if it's a good fit for you. All right, so if there's no more questions, I'm going to go on to the more interactive part of the demo and drill
We do have
down.
one more question.
Okay.
Kim is asking, do you have any psychology teachers using Marty to teach neuroscience or examples of applications in a psychology class?
I don't know of any off the top of my head. looking at Nat. I don't know if she
I
knows
was
of
I was
any.
trying to think of anything, and I can't really think of anything specific to psychology teachers, Kim. I do know that Marty's been used in special needs classes and to teach communications and emotional intelligence. But I don't know anything about
Right. And
psychology
language
teachers
as
and
well.
language.
A lot of SEL students have been using Marty for language translation or as a way to introduce both programming, coding, and language all together. But I'm not aware of a specific psychology course.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have a psychology specific lesson, although as Nat mentioned, we do have lessons around emotional intelligence.
And that might be an opportunity for the teacher to expand on that and let us know what your findings are if you do intend on purchasing. Maybe that 1 or 2 week trial will help with that research.
Oh, I mean, you always definitely can create your own materials if you're a subject matter expert in psychology. We can bring kind of the expertise on the coding and the robot side and blend those together. I would suggest maybe do look at the white paper and look at some of the reference material in the white paper, the reference sources, to see that they may have done a little deeper dive on the psychological aspects. And so that might give you some nuggets to start with. All right. Any more questions before we dive into the demo?
I think we're okay for now. Go ahead and show
Okay.
us what you have. We're excited.
Yeah, so this is the Marty Black's interface. So like I said, very similar to Scratch, but you'll notice a few key differences here. At the top is where we've got the connection to the sensor dashboard. We also have the ability to show the Python code. So if I were to just throw some random blocks here on the screen, and then hit show code, there is the underlying Python text, and you can just simply click the copy to clipboard and then paste that into the Python IDE. But I think this is good even for younger students who aren't yet ready to program in Python. It's a good way to demystify what text-based coding is, because they'll get it, right? They can see their if-then statement, they can see the conditional, they can see the dance. They can start to connect what the syntax of the block is, the language in the block, to the language in Python. Not necessarily all the colons and brackets and quotes and things like that, but the computational thinking part of this, they can start to get at a younger age. And then when they're ready, then this just makes the transition that much easier. So that's another feature that you won't find in the regular version of Scratch that is in our implementation. And then we've also added one of the gray tabs here. And if you're interested in kind of following along or experimenting on your own, you can go to codemarty.com. And then when you're on the main codemarty.com page, click on Marty Blocks, and that will open a view that looks like mine. On the gray tabs, we've got code, costumes, sounds, and then this is where the machine learning tab resides. When you go there, immediately there'll be a little green tutorial that pops up at the bottom. And so it'll give you how to start creating a new machine learning model. There's a couple tutorials. And then my suggestion would really be if you want to learn how all this works, is to go to the user guides. That will launch just a regular kind of adult website for the user guides. And you can go in, and this will give you a step-by-step instruction for what I'm going to provide a flyby on today. But with these instructions, you should be able to create your model, train your model, and then use your model in your program. And there's one both for audio models and then also one for video models. The workflow is quite similar, but again, step-by-step instructions if you want to do that. So I'm going to close out my green window. To create a new model is the blue and white plus sign at the bottom, and then you have to select, do you want to create an image model, an audio model? Do you want to import a model from Teachable Machine? I'll show that last. And then if you want to bring up the tutorials again, you can do that. So I'm going to click on the audio model just because Zoom likes to keep control of my camera and not give it to my web browser. And so you can see here on the screen that as I'm talking, the voice analog waveform is there on the screen. And so as I mentioned before, this is very similar to what you're used to using with Siri and Alexa and things like that, except we have to create our own model. We have to collect our own data. And so I think of this like if you've got a little toddler, or if there was a Martian that came to Earth and didn't know anything, we have to teach them everything. They are a null set, right? They know nothing. And so we have to introduce the concepts of what these sounds are what these images are. But the workflow is quite similar. So for the case of sound, the first thing I have to teach the toddler is what my background noise is. So when I'm not talking and we just have the regular white noise around me, what does that sound like? And so that's the default class that comes up. And so I'm going to take 10 samples of me just being quiet and collect that data. If you ever heard the term big data before, this is kind of what they're talking about. Of these AI and machine learning models take a lot of data as input in order to create the model to be able to predict the output. And I'm going to take 10 samples of just me being quiet. All right, so there's my 10 samples. And one of the things that we can train Marty to do is to respond to the word forward. So maybe we want Marty to walk forward. And so I can come in here and define a new class called forward. I'll add that. And then now I need to take samples of me saying the word forward. 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 Now, through the pop culture, you may have heard about maybe biases in machine learning models, or how maybe different voices respond better or worse. Typically, younger voices don't respond as well on some of the commercial Alexa and Siri and things like that, because they don't have as much training data with young voices, because they're really not supposed to be using young people's voices to train their commercial models. So this is a great learning opportunity to introduce bias and how we need to make sure that our model is representative of the audience that's going to use it. You know, in my case for the demo today, it's just me saying the word forward, but I've got a deep voice that's going to be different than a female voice or a young person's voice or an old person's voice or someone with an accent. So in order to really have an unbiased model, we need to take more and more and more data to be able to accommodate for all those different factors, so that when we have a user, because we're not necessarily going to know who the user is, we want the model to work well for them. But today, for the demo, I'm just going to use my voice, and then I'm going to add the predictions based on my voice, which hopefully will be pretty accurate. I'm going to create another class called dance. And then I'm going to hit the record button of me saying dance a few times. Dance, 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 dance. You get the idea, right? So we're defining classes that we want to classify, and then we're collecting what's called label data, because I'm telling the computer, this is what it means. This sound means dance. This sound means forward. This sound means background noise. And we could continue to define more classes. We could continue to take more sample data. But for the sake of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and hit the train button here. And what that's going to do is going to take all that sample data and generate a neural network to, just like we have a neural network in our brain, to be able to try to predict what sound it's hearing. And it's going to iterate on that neural network 100 times. So it's refining, 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 getting better, getting better, getting better. And so our loss curve here is becoming asymptotic to 0. And so the model thinks, as it iterated 100 times, that the model that came out at the end, it believes is accurate. But we as humans now need to test it to determine and to confirm if it was accurate. So I'm going to run my model just in this tab for a moment. And what you're going to see are my 3 classes. Now, as I talk freeform in the webinar, we didn't define what that is. Our toddler only knows 3 things in this world: quiet background noise, the word forward, and the word dance. That's all it knows. So anything else it hears, it doesn't know what that is. And it's going to try to predict that it's one of the 3 things that it does know. And so when I'm quiet, we should see the predictor go up close to 100%. Dance, 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 forward, forward. So you can see on a relatively small data set, we've got a relatively accurate model here that is able to successfully classify background noise and these 2 words. So I'm going to go ahead and save my model. I called it demo for today's purposes. And it's important to save it, because if you don't save it, then all your sample data is going to be lost and you're going to have to regenerate the model. On my left-hand side, you'll see a couple of other models that I made ahead of time. Just like a cooking show, I had the dish baked in case something was wrong with my recipe today. I'm going to go back to my code tab. And the third menu from the bottom is a menu called ML. And this is now how we start to use our program, our model in our program. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to have to load the model into our program. And that's the first block in this menu. In the drop down, you'll see I have the choice of the 3 models that I had saved. I have an image model, I have a sound model for wave and kick, and I have the one we just created now for forward and dance. So I'm going to click on demo. Then I'm just going to click on this block as a shorthand to import it. And what that's going to do is when I go to use any of the blocks that have this variable, it's going to bring in my classes. So this event handler, if I click on the any, we'll see now here are the 2 classes that I had defined around forward and dance. So I could say for my event, if I hear the sound forward, I want Marty to walk 2 steps forward. And at the moment, my Marty is not paired. And so that's why I'm getting a little warning up here. Yes, I know. And then we can also, if we go back to the ML menu, we can turn on the variable. So this is another way to see, just like we were able to test the model on the machine learning tab, now here on the code tab, we can actually see what the variable value is in real time as I'm talking. So this is another way, just more as a debug tool, you can turn on to see the label for that variable. So if I'm quiet, it should say background noise dance. Yeah. So it's kind of small on my screen, but you get the idea. Let me show you the importing for Teachable Machine. So the workflow is similar for Teachable Machine. You go to the Teachable Machine website, and then you save your background noise and the different classes you want to define. So in this case, I defined a clap and a whistle. So it doesn't have to be words. It can be anything that you can make an audio recording of. And then I generated my model, and then I can turn on the preview here. And so we'll get the same kind of prediction on. So again, model seems to be working. And so in Teachable Machine, there's an export model button. If you click on that, there's the option to upload my model. Click on that, and it will generate a URL. Just give it a second. Now I can copy this URL out of Teachable Machine. I can go back to Marty blocks, and then I go to my machine learning tab, the blue and white plus sign. One of my options is to load Teachable Machine model. I click on that, and then here's where I paste in that URL, and then that will then bring the model that I generated in Teachable Machine, and then add that into my Marty blocks program. And so that gets saved on the left-hand side. When I go back to the code tab, that model should now be available. The TM model is now available for my dropdown to bring in and then use in my program the same way. Let's try, I don't know if my camera will work, but we've got a couple more minutes left. I'm going to tempt the demo gods and try to do a video inference. So I'm going to click this fruit demo that I created ahead of time. And then I'm going to turn on my variable. And what do I want to do? So here are the different classes that I defined. If we see an apple, let's turn Marty's eyes red. Right? And this may not work because I don't think my browser has camera permissions. And when I try to do that, Zoom is not going to like it. Yeah. Anyway, that's why we did the audio. But same concept. If my browser had access to my camera data, it would see that I'm holding an apple, and then based on that would turn Marty's eyes red, or we could have Marty say apple, or maybe we could have Marty translate apple into Spanish and say the Spanish version of apple. So any of the outputs that we have access to for Marty, we can use then in our program once we have our model in and we do the predictions or the inferences, whether that's for the various audio classes or for the various image classes. So sorry that that's not working. It would have been fun to do apple, orange, banana.
Can I ask a question really quick, Hal?
Sure.
Is there some sort of dictionary as far as the functions go on the left side, just so if someone is playing with this with the classroom, they'll be able to figure out those conditions and functions if they're brand new to learning about the
Yeah, so back in the user guides,
perfect.
that's where all of the blocks are defined.
Great.
And we'll give you explanations of what those do. There's also a little bit of control logic to it. So if you want to change the prediction threshold or the inference rate, those are more kind of control settings as well. But yeah, all of the details of the model generation and the blocks themselves are in the user guides. Yeah,
It's really
because
exciting.
nobody's going to remember everything that I mentioned today. Especially if you're new to machine learning, that's going to be a little overwhelming the first few times that you do it. You know, the best way, like with any learning, is really just to get hands-on, experiment, take some photos, take some audio samples, build your model, build a program, and just have some fun.
That's really exciting to see. We're really excited to partner with you, and I love that we can now, you know, show these concepts to students regardless of age, what the AI kind of concept is in some form. So I really appreciate your time today.
And that machine learning is more than ChatGPT.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a common misconception, but now we can expand on it just a little bit more. So
Yes, but
very
the
cool.
concepts are similar, but this is what is going on under the hood of ChatGPT and other large language models or other prediction models or classification models.
Great. I'm so excited that Marty is such a versatile tool to use in the classroom. We certainly love it here at RobotLAB. We appreciate your time, everyone, and Hal and Natalia for joining. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any other questions? Otherwise, we will let you all go. Natalia's got her hand raised. Go ahead.
Just to very, very quickly say that we are giving away a free Marty the Robot, and Abby has kindly put the link in the webinar chat. So please click through and sign up to win a free Marty.
That's right. So we have that giveaway available. We still have that 2-week trial available. So obviously the best way to vet your program or your, you know, wishes to your team is to try it out and show them exactly how that works. So please feel free to sign up with RobotLAB for that. And anything else?
Yeah, any questions about the machine learning? Was anything not clear?
Not at this time, but obviously if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll share my slide really quick. We want to make sure you all remember to follow us on social media. Obviously, we have a ton of cool things going on every single day. New webinars once a month, you know, different things and exciting things on the horizon as well. So please follow us. And any questions that you have, please feel free to reach out to me directly, amy.george@robolab.com. Anything you need, I'll be able to help. If I can't answer you, I can reach out to Hal or Natalia. We can help you as a team and get your answers for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.